Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. You made it, right? You get to the end of the week and it feels like I made it. So I wanted to talk to you about something that I have been working on, something that I've been challenging my clients and those that I work with to do, and that is this mindfulness practice. So the difference between checking in versus checking out, which I know a lot about checking out. I did it for a really long time. It was a coping mechanism for mine, to just kind of check out and get a release from everything, right? So I would check out oftentimes with food, or I would check out with, well, really, I would just check out with food. That was like my checkout vessel of choice. So I just needed a break. I couldn't deal with what was going on. And so I would just find some comfort in food. If you're a stress eater, if you're an emotional eater, you recognize that really well, but there's all kinds of different things that you can really check out with. And in our mind, we think that it's going to give us a break, but really what ends up happening is once we have finished that moment of checking out, we either have to continue doing what we're doing to stay in a state of checked out, unconsciousness, buffering, whatever you want to call it, or when we're done, we're just still left with all of those feelings. There's nothing has changed. We think in our mind it's going to make us feel better. It really comes down to this fight or flight. And I kid around that I am a boss at flight, and I'm a boss at flying right into the pantry and checking out with a nice bag of chips. Or whatever it may be. So it's counterintuitive for us to want to go inwardly and check in. It's just not something that we practice very often. It's not something that we're taught really to think about our thoughts and think about our thinking and why do I want to check out? Why do I need to check out right now? What's going on? What are the thoughts that I'm having that are creating these feelings in me that, I don't know how to deal with? And so this checking in process is definitely something that you have to be mindful about, which is hard. And sometimes I always tell the people that I work with, some of this stuff is retroactive, meaning you might have an episode where you do check out with food. You find yourself in the pantry and you have to do the work afterwards. And what that does is that starts to create a habit. And so the next time you might catch yourself a little bit earlier, and you'll find the more and more that you practice, you're going to catch yourself a little bit earlier, until the point where you've practiced enough where now you can start to feel those feelings coming on. You can feel that flight, or you can feel that fight, sensation come on, and you have been practicing so long this practice of checking in that you can do it before. Okay, so what does it even mean to check in? What does that even look like? Oftentimes for me, it has to be in a space where I can get away from my current situation. So if my kids are just losing it, if there is a high stress situation, you can't always remove yourself from it, but oftentimes removing yourself from the situation allows you just to get a little bit of clarity. Then a lot of times I have to do what I call a thought download. Okay, so that thought download is where I'm just like downloading those thoughts, whatever I'm thinking that's causing that emotion in me that then wants to create that action of checking out. I just really get it down all on paper, whatever it is. My kids are stressing me out. Maybe I'm feeling like I don't have enough time. My to-do list is too long. The house is a mess. Whatever it is, I just get it all down on paper because then I can get it out of my mind. I feel like it becomes more concrete and I don't need to check out. Okay. So then what I really am doing is I'm just kind of watching over that, looking over all of those things, trying to figure out where is the root of that and where is the thought of that. The other piece about checking in, especially I want to talk, I'm a mom. I know a lot of you are moms. And so a lot of times what that checking in is I want to check out when my kids are losing it. Okay. So I had to do a lot of work on this to figure out, the root of it, the like why. Okay, so I have an action. That action is checking out. I go and I figure out, okay, what emotion am I having that's causing me to want to check out? This is me working kind of like this backwards design of this thought work that I talk about oftentimes on this page. So I look at that emotion. I find out what that emotion is. It's anxiety. It's just stress. It's annoyance. Like when my kids are really whiny and whatnot, the emotion I am feeling is annoyed. Okay, so then I have to think about what thought am I having that is creating this? And this might take a little bit of time for you to do, but what I realized is I was having a thought that it was my job to make my kids happy. And so what does that mean if all of a sudden their actions are contradicting that? Like my thought is, it's my job as a mom to keep my kids happy. Well, what does that say about me if my kids aren't happy? So that would create a lot of anxiety in me. That would create a lot of annoyance, a lot of tension in me. So I had to change that thought. And really it was just going to the negative. I know logically that it's not my job to keep my kids happy, that my kids are going to be upset, that it's okay that they're upset. It's okay that they're not having a great day. I don't always have a great day. So when I'm able to modify and change that thought, I get a whole set of new feelings. Something kind of practical. So, really when you check in, it might feel like you're checking out, but just speaking specifically about kids, one of the things that was suggested to me by somebody that commented on one of my posts was that they check in with their kids. So your kids are driving you crazy, they're whiny, they're all of that. Checking in with them, actually sitting down, getting on the floor with them, doing a puzzle. And that's what last night, it was a hard day. It was one of those hard mom days. And I just decided, instead of wanting to do that fight or flight, going into the pantry, checking out, or continuing just to busy myself, because a lot of times I do, one of the ways that I try to work through my emotional eating is keeping myself busy. And I think that works sometimes, but I also think that if you're never dealing with the actual thoughts and you're always just busying yourself, it's going to eventually cause you to just stress eat, because you're going to have to stop. That hustle wants to keep us going and wants to keep us busy so we don't have to think about our thinking, but ultimately you really do want to stop and start thinking about your thinking. So sitting down and actually checking in with them and checking in with yourself, sitting down, checking in with yourself. Like I said, it's counterintuitive, but it really will help you overall to just get a little bit of clarity about what's going on. The whole point of this is that you really want to find out where all of your feelings are stemming from, where all of your actions are stemming from. You don't just have feelings because. Your feelings are there because of the thoughts that you're having. So if you can stop enough to become the watcher and really think about your thinking, which is a skill that you have to practice, you can't just one day start thinking about your thinking. It's going to feel uncomfortable for a little bit, but the more and more you do it. For those of you that are in the Holiday Hustle or clients of me, your assignment for this today is I want you to find a time, and even if you're not a part of the Holiday Hustle, you can definitely do this, but I want you to find a time today where your instinct is to check out, and I want you to start checking in with yourself. Okay, so if there's a time, and then in the group, you will post that as your check-in for tonight. So talk about, what a time, whether it be with your kids or whether it be a stressful situation at work or dealing with a relationship that you're having where you wanted to check out, but instead you checked in with yourself. And that is your assignment for tonight. If you are not part of the Holiday Hustle and are interested in any challenges that I have running, please feel free to reach out to me. Or if you just want to participate in this exercise and like to post below for some accountability, feel free to do that as well. I hope you all have a great Friday. Thanks.